Hey guys, what is going on? I am up bright and early. It is 4:30 a.m. Eastern Time with the one and only Dave Wakeman, founder of the Wakeman Consulting Group and a sports biz wizard. Dave, good morning, bright and early. Thank you for waking up to accommodate my producer Mike Fish's schedule.
Oh, I will get up at the butt crack of dawn. You in Australia will get me out of bed before the sun comes up. I am happy to be here. This is going to be very, very fun.
Absolutely. And, Dave's one of my favorite. And Dave, I mean, it looks like you've been obviously traveling around the country. I've seen you in South Beach, one of my favorite spots in the world, in Miami. You've been in Boston. Like, it must be nice to be Dave Wakeman right now.
Second, totally. I just went and picked my son up from camp on Saturday. So things will go back to being as stressful as usual, I'm sure, pretty quickly. But I'm pretty relaxed right now. But give me about 48 hours and I'll be back to like pulling my hair out or going grayer.
I hear you. I am right there with you. So, Dave, tell me about your career to our viewers.
Oof. Well, to say it has not gone in a straight line would be an understatement. But I started out in nightclubs, actually. Strangely enough, I started out in nightclubs. I'll skip all the stuff that I did before I went to college, like bagging groceries and selling Coca-Colas at high school football games and holding the chains at high school football games and being like a counselor at rec centers and some. I guess I gave you all that. I started at nightclubs and opened up nightclubs in Fort Lauderdale, Chicago, Houston, and St. Louis. I was a part of a big group. I learned most of the marketing lessons I've learned. Then Seattle, I had a chance to help open the Experience Music Project, which was a museum that was founded by Paul Allen. It was at the time inspired tough creativity through the art of rock music. It was a really great experience. I had a chance to work pretty closely with the CEO of the organization on some campaigns, and that really held me forward. Um, then I went to New York, and that's sort of where I fell into tickets. I had done some stuff like, again, I'm giving you the 30-second view here with the Dolphins, the Supersonics, the Seahawks, like the lowest dirt level grunt work in sports. I did them all, right? I did them all for a couple of years while I was working, for Paul Allen at the EMP or working in nightclubs, because I was talking to my neighbor. It was like when I was in my 20s, I had 3 or 4 jobs, because there was no backstop, there was no anything. So from there, I went to New York. I fell in with a company called Americana Tickets, which was the oldest ticketing company in New York City.
Okay.
And due to that, I had a chance to gain exposure and work with people like Marriott, the Sheratons, the Royalton Hotel, or the Royalton, the Hudson, the Four Seasons. But the big ones were Yellowtail Wines and American Express. And I was somehow able to help American Express and the Centurion Card program create a program that could give tickets to their card members anywhere in the world. From there, I kind of made myself unemployable and I started my own businesses. One was in ticketing that I was able to leave after about 2 years, make an exit from. And then since then, I've been a consultant. So that would be since 2007. So just before the crash, I started this thing, which was kind of fraught to start a business in the middle, right before a financial crisis. But so it goes. And so now I am me, and I have been fortunate enough to build a brand for myself where people know my name, they know the work I do, and they understand that like my focus is on marketing and selling and making money.
Awesome. And Dave, that's a pretty big deal. I remember you telling me that too. I mean, that's pretty legendary that you created the AMAX pre-sale for all venues in the world. This came from Dave Wakeman, folks. Like, that is like really impressive.
Well, it wasn't the pre-sale. It was the like the back end for the concierge program. The pre-sale is a whole different thing. People have been working on it for dozens of years, a dozen years or more. And I was just fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, and I was able to build relationships and use technology. I had a really great team of people to help me out. So it wasn't as awesome as doing the Amex pre-sale thing, but it was a pretty significant thing, and it was a really awesome thing to be a part of.
That's fantastic. And obviously, the last 18 months, Dave, have been a whirlwind, obviously, with COVID-19 shutting down live events for most of 2020. As we dive into Q2 of 2021, live events are back. Major League Baseball is 100% capacity. NFL is going to be 100% capacity, besides some of their strict rules that they put out here, which I think is a scare tactic. But tell me, what do you think of the ticketing landscape now, post-COVID, headed into college football, NFL season? Obviously, Major League Baseball is pretty much back to normal. What are your thoughts, obviously, with there's so much to talk about the variant and Delta? Is that going to affect things, or are we going to be at 100% for good now? Is this just the life we live in?
Okay, so I'll give you a couple things here. So the first thing you ask about is how people should deal with this Delta variant. And I saw this question. Ken Troop had put it on his Social for Ticket Sales Twitter chat today, and he was
He
asking,
did.
like, should people be planning for this thing? And I would say that if you have learned nothing from this entire event, is that you should have backup plans for everything, because at every point where we've had a chance for things to go in the right direction or the wrong direction, they've always gone in the wrong direction. I don't know why. I mean, you figure at least luck would get us to go in the
You know,
right direction once. So you got to have backup plans, right? So that, I mean, that would be the first thing. We're hopeful. I think in my Talking Tickets newsletter that hopefully people are signing up for. I use the example in Australia. Encourage people to get the vaccine. If you haven't had a chance to get the vaccine yet, get the vaccine, right? 99.4% of the deaths that are happening now due to COVID are people who aren't vaccinated. And that'll cause things to shut down. That'll cause the economy to be screwed up. That'll cause all kinds of things. So get the vaccine. If it seems like the story of the pandemic has been, if there's a chance for something to go wrong, it will. So
right.
don't risk it. Okay. As far as the state of tickets right now, I'd say the recovery's up and down. Right.
Mhm.
It's some places are great. Right. If you were a team in the NBA playoffs, you did pretty well. Right. Baseball's probably struggling in sometimes,
Right.
sometimes in some places. Right now we'll start seeing a lot of concerts going on in amphitheaters, Live Nation and Ticketmaster. That's going to provide a lot of inventory on the market. Prices are up, right? The inflationary impact of, people going out and buying stuff all at once, slowdowns due to the pandemic, all of these factors is going to, make pricing a challenge. Some of that pent up savings that people had may have been people who couldn't afford to, weren't working, couldn't afford to necessarily pay their rent, right? And couldn't be evicted due to the pandemic. Could be all kinds of things. So you got to be paying attention, because it's kind of been up and down. Some events are doing great, others are not doing so great. So, it's not a one size fits all experience right now for everybody. And then probably the third thing I would point to is that it seems that there's still a need for people to get a really firm grasp on strategy. They have spent a lot of time becoming tactically smarter or tactically more efficient, but there's not a lot of strategy driving these things. It's just like when you're cooking, throw spaghetti against the wall and see if it sticks yet. Well, you don't. You're keeping it lean and clean. So back
Right.
when you used to eat, yeah,
Better
try to
use
keep it lean and clean.
favorite
Uh, yeah.
food.
So if you did eat pasta, you'd throw it against the wall,
Yep.
right? And people need to understand where they're going to win, where they're going to compete, and how they're going to win. What's their value in the market, right? And unfortunately, a lot of places I don't see that people have done that work, and that's going to cause a problem because, like I said, the story is things are up and down. There's still things that could go wrong. It's not going to be a straight line. So you have to have control. You have to have focus. You have to have a vision for where you're going to go.
Fantastic insight there, Dave. And really, obviously, listen to your podcast. I mean, throughout your amazing interviews with amazing folks in the sports biz. Dave just recently interviewed Scott O'Neill. Make sure you check that out on his podcast. Scott O'Neill, for those you don't know, basically just getting off president of the Philadelphia 76ers and New Jersey Devils, has worked with MSG, one of the hottest guys in the sports biz. Be interesting to see where he ends up. Really, my last question is, and I agree with you 110% on this issue. This was always a pet peeve of mine when I was director of sales or GM of ticket sales for teams, is about discounts. And so many teams discount tickets at the wrong time. Like, how can they do it right, Dave? Is there a right way to discount tickets?
Discounts are for dummies, Scott. this is the thing I'm most famous for is saying discounts are for dummies. The article that I originally wrote probably 5 years ago now, at least, has been translated into at least 8 languages that I know of, and it has this article has provided me with speaking opportunities on 4 continents. It's sold out workshops. It's amazing. Don't discount. Here's the thing, right? People love to discount. They think, oh, I can get away with it just one time. And it's a button that people push, and once they start pushing it, they never stop. I am really a big fan of doing research for pricing, right? I feel that pricing is just as important to do research as anything else in your marketing that you're going to do. You do the research, right? The tool I use a lot with people is called the Van Westendorf pricing survey, right? They ask 4 simple questions and it shows you, like, it'll pop up and like you do the thing
Right.
and you'll see a little circle in there and you get like a range of prices people would be willing to pay. It's not perfect, but it works very well. You can do, if you need a discount, right? You priced wrong, you can reset your prices, right? That's one thing. You could also add more value, right? So like, let's say if you have a $50 ticket, it really is the value inherently to the customer is only $25. Don't cut the thing to $25 unless you're just going to really reset the price. Instead, add some value. Throw in a couple free drinks, t-shirt, one of those foam fingers, right? Wave it around. Figure out how to give people enough value so that they feel like $50 is worth it for them, right? You can do that. And if all else fails and you do need to discount, I would say use the secondary market, right? Work with broker partners, right? Allow them to use some of the tools for dynamic pricing and things like that to help you take it away from your brand, right? Allow them, the market to dictate, because you don't really define the value, your customer does. And that's the big thing that when I'm talking about pricing, I try to convey, which is like going, you may think something's worth it, right? But until you understand you've done research on your market and on your customers, your idea about what is valuable is meaningless. The only person that can define the value and can tell you whether or not they're willing to pay what you want for it is the customer. You are just in the way, right? And these impressions that you have, they can often be dangerous because you make these assumptions and these expectations about people and what they value that are often wrong. So don't discount. Do your research. If you have to, reset your prices, right? But don't discount. Don't give any stupid codes out. Reset the price if you need to, or add value, right? And if you are in an emergency, use the secondary market. That's an incredibly valuable way to use the secondary market.
Absolutely. No, fantastic insight there. I really hope that people paid attention to that last question. That has definitely been a pet peeve of mine. Dave answered that perfectly. And Dave,
I would tell 2 things if I can jump in though and step on you.
Please do.
Number 1 is the Scott O'Neill podcast is probably the one I'm most proud of, right? And then number 2, I'm doing a pricing panel with some really great people at Ticket Summit in Vegas. So if you're going to be to Vegas, or if you haven't been thinking about it and you're on the fence, make sure you go to ticketsummit.com and get your tickets to Ticket Summit, because there will be a awesome pricing panel. It's got Gene Tenner from the UFC. I've got Sam Sherman from Broker Genius. Wow. I've got Brett Goldberg from TickPick. I have Mike Garvey from Prolific One, and I have Josh Ludwig from TRT. So it's a great, like a bunch of great guys.
Bunch of smart dudes in there. Make sure you check Dave out at Ticket Summit. Find him on davewakeman.com, a fabulous website for his consulting services, and sign up for his newsletter. Anything else to add, Dave, before we go? Start on Monday.
No, talkingtickets.substack.com. If you're listening to Scott, you will love this newsletter. And make sure you subscribe to Scott's video. He asked me. I'm very proud of what he's been doing here. Every Monday he puts this thing out. I'm very proud of what he's done, because it's very tough to start these things. It's very tough to be consistent, and you're doing a great job of it.
Dave, I appreciate it. And Dave is the reason why I started. I literally called him up just before I started this about over 2.5 months ago. And boom, we have 30 videos later, still trying to improve and doing different things. So Dave's definitely an inspiration of why Scott's Take started. So Dave, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you check him out, and you tell him, what is my mantra, Dave? What's the hashtag?
Hey, keep it lean and clean.
You got it. See you guys on Monday for my Scott Take Hot Take. Have a fantastic Monday.